Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Ox Talks. It is Tuesday, March the 19th, 2024. Hope all of you are having a productive day today. Appreciate you watching the videos, being here. I know you have lots of options and choices. I know your time is very important to you. It means a lot to me that you subscribe, hit the thumbs up, the like button, the bell notifications, and please continue. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And let's please continue to share these videos with as many people as we possibly can, coworkers, colleagues, friends, family that are willing to keep open ears, open eyes, and want to see what is truly happening with this economy. I'll jump into a couple of economic themed stories today that I thought were important to share, and then I want to address today's Supreme Court ruling on the Texas border law, which is important that we all understand what's happening down there. So first article is out of the Business Insider, and it says why a recession is 4 times more likely than an economic expansion this year, according to economist David Rosenberg. And what Mr. Rosenberg says is he's been sounding the recession alarm in recent months, and he now thinks that the likelihood is much greater that the U.S. sees a contraction this year. And of course, I'm going to get comments, and I agree. We're already in a contraction, folks. We're already probably in a recession if you look at all of the metrics. But what this person has to say, I think, is still important. It says the head of Rosenberg Research said he believes that a recession is 4 times more likely than an economic expansion. And it's just a matter of time as more signals kick in until the recession narrative comes back into focus. There's no doubt the recession narrative in the mainstream has been pushed to the background. And of course, they don't want you and I to know what's truly happening. The second article I'm going to share with you today brought to mind the old saying from George Carlin, the comedian from years ago, that it's a big club and you are not in it. So I want to share that story with you as well. But look, the mainstream media does not want you to see what's actually going on. They just want to keep touting how the stock market keeps going up and how consumers are out spending money, and therefore the economy is strong, and therefore the job market is strong. They don't want you to understand that below, that the pillars are literally crumbling, and the everyday man and woman on the street are suffering. This person says February's consumer price index of 3.2% was hotter than expected. We covered that last week and the week before, which has intensified inflationary worries. We're going to have a Fed meeting tomorrow, I believe, and the expectation is obviously that nothing will be done relative to rates, but actually that the Fed might come out and signal and be hawkish in nature and signal less expected rate cuts this year. All eyes are on that. Again, the stock market's rallied today. The party continues. This guy says, quote, I feel that I'm Christopher Columbus in 1492, standing in front of the Isabella Ferdinand trying to tell them, no, the world isn't flat. He told CNBC in an interview on Monday. The Economist highlighted that the real retail sales volumes are down 1.8%, and industrial production is down 5.6% on an annual basis in the first quarter. The historical patterns show that such simultaneous contractions in real retail sales and production typically herald the arrival of an economic downturn. Historically, when that's happening, unless it's an aberration, you have a 4 times greater chance of being hit by a recession than being hit with a recession more than having an economic expansion. He also pointed out that the job sector, noting that even though unemployment rate still appears low, there is a huge dichotomy in the jobs claim data. We've covered this before. The government jobs data are totally rigged. It's a bunch of BS by the BLS, if you know what we're talking about. He says he casts doubt on the household survey's unemployment figure, good reason to do so, arguing that all jobs created in the past year have been part-time, rendering many workers ineligible for unemployment insurance and potentially slowing or skewing the data downward. He says, how can we be talking about a buoyant labor market when there has not been one single new full-time job created in the United States over the past 12 months as of February? How do you square that circle to a narrative that we really have a robust labor market on our hands? He questioned. And we also know that a lot of the jobs are going to the illegal immigrants that continue to flood into this country by the tens of thousands. So again, another economist signaling and warning that things are going to get stormy. Next article I saw I thought was worth sharing with you is out of Fortune. And the title is, "We are essentially in a new Gilded Age as workers get laid off, but CEOs and shareholders gobble up hundreds of billions of dollars in profits." And we've talked about over the past several weeks and months on this show about my belief. We have all these layoffs happening, we know, but the corporations are coming out and saying, well, we're having to restructure. But I've come out and said, look, my belief is we have a total sea change in the corporate governance. And what we have is, we've always had to some extent, the shareholder, the value of the shares being the most important thing, the CEO compensation packages being the most important thing, not the employees that make those companies operate. They are starting and continuing to discount the employees. They're reducing headcount. They are doing these quiet firings, which from my perspective is just really nasty. It's just bad faith to try to force people out the door. But what this article says is, look, it's happening on the backs of huge CEO pay increases and huge profits for shareholders. The article says, so finds a new report from Oxfam, a British nonprofit focused on eradicating poverty, which analyzed more than 200 United States or U.S. corporations to assess their inequity footprint. Most money ends up funneling into the mouths of those at the top, as 90% or $1.1 trillion of the combined $1.25 trillion in net profits for those companies analyzed went to paying wealthy shareholders. This is, executives are doing quite all right as well. CEO pay has ballooned. Listen to this, has ballooned since the pandemic hit, increasing by 31% from 2018 to 2022. Shareholders and CEO pay have risen to record levels in the aftermath of the pandemic, according to the report. And here it says, the rules are being rigged and the companies are helping to rig them, says Irit Tamir, Senior Director of Oxfam America's Private Sector Department, tells Fortune. Speaking of company taxation that has gone down due to strong corporate lobbying presence. So again, we talk about the Carlin statement from years ago that it's a big club and you are not in the club. If you are an employee, you're not in the club. You are an outsider, you're not an insider. The past year has been marked by layoffs in the finance, tech, and media sectors as many CEOs, here we go, claim to need to downsize in light of economic strain. But it seems as if the corporations are doing better than ever. Again, the narrative being different from the reality. And if you're someone who lost their job in 2023 or 2024, or who's undergoing one of these quiet firing situations at work, or getting internal pressure trying to force you out the door, or to take a reduced position or less pay, you'll know what I'm talking about. It says revenue and profits at Fortune 500 companies grew significantly between 2014 and 2022, hiking even more in the years after the pandemic. In the same breath that Meta's Mark Zuckerberg announced layoffs for more than 10,000 workers in the name of Year of Efficiency, the company announced a fresh $40 billion stock buyback option. Less than a year later, Meta announced buys to buy back another $50 billion in shares. While money was seemingly tight for some, it was an equivalent of Christmas for those at the top. Stock buybacks in 2022 hit a record $681 billion per Oxfam. And you understand when they do buybacks, it's for the purpose of driving up the share prices. Again, to maximize value for shareholders, has nothing to do, no regard for the employees, the workers like you at these companies. I was going to say you and I, but you know what? I chose almost 30 years ago now that I did not want to work for anybody else when I finished school. And I started my own business. And I took my own advice going back 30 years, same advice I'm giving to all of you now. If you have the wherewithal to do it, start your own business. Become your own CEO. Pay yourself first. Employees are becoming more expendable by the day. And if you are an employee, if you're a 9-to-5 worker, a W-2, or a 1099, this should be of some real concern to you. Not even withstanding if AI could have some kind of impact on your position. There's a change in an ongoing change in the way these corporations are looking at these things, folks. I hope that you take that to heart and start to shore up your own personal situations. Yeah, you can work harder at work. I hear this all the time. Well, if you have a job, be thankful you have a job and work harder. Put in more hours. Show your boss you're the most important. You know, I'm not saying don't do that. You always want to do the best you can, have the best work ethic you can, and no matter what it is that you're practicing, whatever your job is. Have some pride, which a lot of people do not have in this culture, especially the younger ones, a lot of them these days. Have some pride, take some pride in your work, even if it isn't working for yourself. However, that is not a foolproof formula or recipe. And you can work your butt off, take all the overtime you can, kiss your bosses, you know what, and still find yourself getting your walking papers. So I hate to say that, but that is the reality. Says while wages remain fairly stagnant or barely enough to compete with the pace of inflation. Actually, we covered yesterday, wages are actually falling. Says CEOs have given themselves a hefty raise. CEOs were paid a combined $4.1 billion in 2022 per Oxfam's analysis of the 186 companies that had hard data. Only 5% of the companies examined publicly said that they support a living wage. The wage gap continues to widen among larger companies. For example, McDonald's has a CEO to worker pay gap of 1,745 to 1. Another prototypical American brand, Coca-Cola Company, has a pay gap of 1,594 to 1. So, again, I'm not beating up on CEOs. Look, they stepped in, they rose to the top. They'll be able to put themselves in this position to reap huge financial rewards. Some of them truly hard work. I think there's a story from the CEO of Costco right now, I believe, that worked his way up, starting as a box boy or on the floor of the store. So look, there are success stories, but by and large, I am of the position, it's just my opinion, that if you do not work for yourself, you do not create your own income strategy, you will continue to be at substantial financial risk and be a liability for not only yourself, but for your family. Now, I'm not saying you have to walk out of your job today. What I'm saying is give some thought about starting something on the side. Start your own small business if you can and work that into a profitable venture slowly. Don't take on a bunch of debt. The last article I want to share with you today is the update on the Texas border crisis, and more importantly, this SB4, Texas SB4 law. And it says, in a blow, this is the title of the article, in a blow to Biden, Supreme Court allows Texas to start arresting and deporting illegal aliens. The Supreme Court on Tuesday dealt a blow to the Biden administration's attempts to keep the U.S. border open, allowing Texas to enforce a new law giving local police the power to arrest migrants, which is amazing to me that the administration tried to deny Texas the ability to do that, to protect its own citizens, protect its own borders, but it did. And evidently today, they lost. So it says the conservative majority court, United States Supreme Court, rejected an emergency request by the Biden administration by the administration, which claimed that states have no authority to reject on immigration. The ruling means that Texas law can go into effect while the litigation continues in the lower courts. The law, SB 4, allows police to arrest migrants who illegally cross into the United States from Mexico and imposes criminal penalties. It also empowers judges to deport people to Mexico. Quote, Texas is the nation's first line defense against transnational violence and has been forced to deal with the deadly consequences of the federal government's inability or unwillingness to protect the border, end quote, Texas argued in court papers. The dispute is the latest clash between the administration and Texas over immigration enforcement on the U.S.-Mexico border. And evidently, a federal judge had blocked the law after the administration filed a lawsuit. But then the New Orleans-based 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said in a brief order that it could go into effect March 10th if the Supreme Court declined to intervene. On March 4th, Justice Samuel Alito issued a temporary freeze on the law to give the Supreme Court time to consider the federal government's request. So I will continue to keep you posted on this. For now, it appears that Texas can and will implement a strategy of arresting these illegals and deporting them from the country. Maybe this is a ray of light, a glimmer of hope in this ongoing saga. I'll leave it there today. I'll be leaving in about an hour to go get a workout. It's leg day today. I guess it's my least favorite day of the week. It's probably the thing I need to work on the most. And so be it. I'm going. It's Tuesday. I hope all of you will do the same thing. Get your workout in today, whatever it is. Get your steps in. Do some cardio, strength training, biceps, chest, push-ups, sit-ups, body weight squats, sit-ups, things like that. Just get some activity in, folks. It's so important that we're active, that we're burning calories. Obviously, the diet is just as crucial. If you're overloading calories in, you're not going to see any progress, even if you do have a fairly good workout regimen. You have to have both running in tandem. I know I discuss it every day on the show, but I'm going to continue to harp on this because we are, as a nation, very physically unfit, very unhealthy, very lazy. We have to change the culture. So it starts with you. It starts with me. Let's set a good example. Have a great rest of your day today. I'll talk to all of you tomorrow. Bye.